Hi, welcome back, guys, to this new lesson, to the third lecture of C++ programming language. And in this one, I hope that everybody's doing great. And some of the guys out here, some of them are newbies, and they're absolutely beginners, and they don't know about C++. So they should go and watch our previous two lectures, so then they can really understand or easily understand this lecture, right? Our third lecture. So let's just get started, guys. Let's get straight to it, right? So first of all, I will be opening up this theory to know something about what is this, like what I'm just going to do. So we have a function in C++. Well, this lecture is all about creating an entry for the user. What does it mean? It means that a user will have to enter a value on the runtime of a program, right? So in the previous lectures, we would declare some variables and assign values to them, and then we would add them or subtract two values, right? That were set in two different variables. But now this time, a user will have to enter two different values on the runtime, right? On the runtime, the program will be running, and program will be waiting for the user to enter two values. And then we will get the result at the end of the program. So let's just talk about it. Uh, we use cin function to get a value from the user on runtime, right? For this purpose, we have a function called cin, right? When we get a value from the user, it has to be stored in a variable in order to work with it, later on in the program. Well, when we get a value from the user, right, it has to be stored somewhere, and that somewhere is actually a variable. So when you will be using cin function, you will have to store its value in any variable so that you can work on it later on in the program, right? So what is the syntax for this function? It is cin. You'll have to type cin, and then this operator is basically called you can say it's extraction operator, because it's extracting a value from the user, right? And then this right up here, this portion is the variable name. It can be any variable's name, right? And then at the end, as usual, we'll have to put this mark, which is called a semicolon sign or mark, right? So this is the syntax for cin function. This function or this object basically get a value from the user on runtime, right? So let's just work on it practically. So I will be opening up my div C++. If you have not installed this application, go on Google and download it. Or don't worry, I'll just send the entire application to our WhatsApp group so that you can easily install it on your PC and start practicing. Right, so this is the main body that we have talked about in our first lecture. Now we're going to work with cin, and I forgot something. Well, this cin, right? This function is basically defined in iostream library as well. It is defined in iostream library, right? So this function is also being defined in iostream library, as we had another one that was cout, which we use for displaying something to the user, right? We use cout, right, for showing something to the user on the screen, but cin is used to get a value from the user on the runtime, right? So let's just work with it practically and see how it's going to work. So first of all, we'll be declaring a variable in which we'll be storing the value of that input, right? Whenever we get a value from the user, we'll have to store it in a variable. So I will have to declare a variable, for example, integer x, right? I don't have to assign value for it because I want to get the value from the user. So then I will have to show a message to the user in order to make it look properly, right? I would say, for example, enter any digit, right? Enter any digit. This message will be shown to the user, enter any digit, right? And then I will have to use cin function because I want to get a value from the user. So I would just simply type cin, then insertion operator, and then variable name. So variable name, in this case, we have X. So just type the X and then put that semicolon mark. So it's just done, right? Now we'll have to compile this program by using F9 key on your keyboard. And then to run this program, you can go with F10 key. So now it's compiling, and then we'll have to run this program. Right? So I've got 0 errors on my program. Now let me run it and see how it's going to work. So this is the result on the screen. You can see that I got the message as I have written in cout, and that was enter any digit. So this is the result. Now, as you guys can see that this program is not executing other lines that are being written, right? I mean that this program actually waits for the user to give the program any value. So I've declared a variable which has data type of integer. So I'm definitely going to enter any integer. For example, if I go with 10, that would be fine. If I just type here 3, that would be fine, because if I type -5, that would be fine, because these all are integers. So just suppose I go with 10, right? And press enter. The program ends, because this is what I have coded for, and I haven't coded further. So I've got the value from the user, which was stored in X variable, right? Let me explain it even more. I got the value from the user through cin, right? Cin function or cin object. Then its value was stored in X variable, and this variable is here that I just declared, right? So after, when the program execution reach up here, then in this time we have the value of X equals to the one that the user has entered. So for example, if I want to get two values from a user, I would declare another variable Y. Variable name can be any of them, X or Y, whatever you like, you can go with that. And then I want to show another message to the user, and in which it will be told to the user that enter the second digit, right? Enter second digit. And I would just modify the first one, enter first digit, right? Enter first digit. And now, right? And this program, what it really does is that, first of all, a user will be prompted to enter first digit, then the program will be waiting for the user to get the value from the user. Once he enter any value, then another message will appear on the screen. It would say enter second digit, right? And the program ends. But I don't want to end the program. I want to even code further by getting second value from the user. So I would use cin again, and then I will put here y, because I want to store the second value in the second variable, which we have y, right? So after that, let's just compile this program and run it, see what happens. So now it's compiling, and here's the result. So enter first digit, as I said, just suppose I go with 50. And as you can see that now the program is executing in this line, which is CNY. I've got my message here, enter second digit, right? To the help of cout. And now the program is waiting for me to enter any value. Program is waiting for the user, right? So in this case, I'm the user, right? So now I have to enter another digit. Suppose I go with 5, that would make sense. And the program ends. As you guys can see, I get the result of whatever I've just coded, right? So now the question arises, well, I want to make a program to get two values from the user, right? And then show the result, show the sum to the user at the end of the program as a result. So for this purpose, I will just At the end of these lines, I mean, at the end of the program, I will tell the user this addition or the sum of two given values, right? Of two given values is, and then I will just add those two variables uh, by using plus, or you can say, yeah, sum operator between them, x plus y, right? And then I would go with the terminator operator. So let's just compile it and run it, see what's going to happen, right? So now I'm going to run this program, enter first digit. Suppose I go with 10 and the second digit is 5. And as you guys can see the result, the sum of the two given values is 15. Now this program actually gets two values from the user first and then shows the result to them, to the user. The result is the sum of the two given values, right? It actually finds the addition of two given values. So we call sum to addition operation, right? So the sum of the two given values is 15. It was quite simple, right? Now I want to make another change in this program. I want to also mention those values that I've got from the user. The sum of, like in this case, I want to get the sum of 10 and 5 values is 15. I want to modify it, right? So how to do that? It's simple. First of all, I would say that the sum of, right? And then I will use this variable, which is x, right? X, and then I would go and, right? And y. Wait, there's a problem. Let me remove it. The sum of x, and then I need to make a space between them. The sum of x and y, right, is x plus y. That's it, guys. Let's just compile it and run it. So if you have any question, go to the chat option and ask your question. So enter first digit, suppose 5, and enter second digit, that is 3. So now you can see the difference. The sum of 5 and 3 is 8. Well, I want to make a gap between off and the 5, right? So I would just put a space here. The sum of 5 and I have to type and between them and 10 is this, right? So it's going to change because it depends on the user, what values is the user going to enter. So it would change. For example, 5, 4, the sum of 5 and 4 is 9. That was a simple program. That was a simple lecture, guys. I have a short time, so I just compiled this lecture for you guys. If you have any question, go to the chat option and ask a question, right? If you have any question in this program, go and ask your question. I'll be waiting for you guys. So this is the result, and now I'll be waiting for your questions. I hope that this is clear for you guys. We definitely use cin function to get the value from the user. Thank you for watching. If you have any question, go to the chat option. I'm waiting for you. All right, I'm going to answer your question. Your question is that if I want to get the value from the user, which has to be in decimal, means which contains a decimal floating point, right? So it's simple, just modify this integer or replace it with float. So whatever I enter in this x variable, it has to be a floating value, a decimal value, and it would store an x variable. The same goes for y. So let's just try it out. I'm going to compile this program. Let's see what has to be changed, right? So now I will have to enter uh, uh, decimal value, for example, 3.5. The second value is 2.8. Suppose, so I've got the result, the sum of 3.5 and 2.8 is 6.3. So that's how you work with different data types, right? I'm sure that this I've answered your question, right? So that was it. That was simple. So you just have to take care of these data types. If you need to store a decimal value, go with float data type. If you just need integers, if you have to get integer from the user, go with integer data type. Okay. So this is it, guys. I hope that you've enjoyed this lecture. It was a short one because I'm having some short time. That's why I'm preparing for a paper. That's why I just conducted this short lecture. In the next program, in the next lecture, I will be doing a practice set of these previous topics, including working with cout function, cin one, right? The one that we've just discussed. And we'll be working with all these, and we'll be just creating some simple programs so that it can definitely help you, right? Because just explaining these might not be effective. So when we work with examples, when we work with simple programs, that would be really beneficial for all of you. So I hope that this is clear for you guys. And you guys, if you guys have any question, go to the chat option and please ask your question. Otherwise, I'm going to end this meeting right here. And this lecture is going to be uploaded to our YouTube channel. So if you have or anyone have missed this lecture, they can easily watch it on our YouTube channel. So we have no problems. This was our third lecture, and we will head out to the fourth one in some days. Yeah, I will then make a schedule for it. So that was all for now. Thank you for watching, and I would see you guys next time.